Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from The Lion's Daughter, entitled Bathhouse. This is the fifth full-length studio album from this genre-bending crew hailing from St. Louis, Missouri. In their early years, they were playing with a relatively straightforward-ish sound, combining bleak, oppressive, misanthropic black and sludge metal. With time, though, their sound got more complex, their sound got more dark and more nuanced and more experimental as well, leading up to their breakthrough record of sorts, 2018's Future Cult, which incorporated synthwave and industrial elements and sounds and vibes, as well as futuristic, cosmic, abstract horror. It was weird, it was creepy, it was deranged, it had a really unique atmosphere and vibe, and things only got weirder with 2020's Skin Show. It was at times genuinely deranged and perverse. It was like this totally demented, adventurous, volatile mixture of Ministry, Killing Joke, Nine Inch Nails, The Body, John Carpenter. The band went as far as to describe the album as the soundtrack to Times Square in the 1970s, and honestly, that description fits pretty accurately. It was just so sleazy and gross and strange and fucked up. I'm not gonna lie though, a part of me was worried going into Bathhouse because a part of me felt that maybe The Lion's Daughter had hit their peak with Skin Show. I just wasn't really sure where else the band could go with that sound and with that formula. What could you do to make it darker and to make it weirder and to make it still feel fresh and new and exciting? And well, it's a good thing I don't fucking write songs for The Lion's Daughter because I sure as hell wouldn't have come up with this. Holy shit! For real, shame on me for doubting these guys for even a fucking second, because not only is Bathhouse a fucking fantastic record, it's arguably just as good as Skin Show, and in many ways, much darker, much weirder, and much crazier. A part of me is kind of alright, Future Cult is their Kill 'Em All, Skin Show is their Ride the Lightning, and this might be their Master of Puppets. This seriously is insane. This thing has more horror, specifically bringing in a lot of abstract and body horror. This thing is more metal as well, with a more brutal and muscular sound, prioritizing influences from death and black metal. Some of the sludgier riffs and ideas and textures of 2016's Existence is Futile has been brought in as well. There's more industrial and synth stuff as well. Parts of this even feel like they could have been pulled from a techno or an EDM record. And there are also some more obtuse, uncomfortable kind of avant-garde metal style dynamics and progressions here and there. There are parts of this record that genuinely kind of felt like something that maybe The Locust or Gorguts would have put together if they ever somehow collaborated. And amazingly, despite all of this, it never feels overwhelming and it never feels truly incomprehensible or crazy or pretentious. It's actually a pretty digestible record, at least by underground extreme metal standards. The opening number and title track Bathhouse, for instance, kicks things off with a pretty simplistic foundation of primitive, straightforward, boneheaded, thrashy death metal with these very aggressive, pummeling, down-picked rhythms and beats. It's very hard-hitting, it's very straight to the point. As the track goes on, it starts to introduce some more sinister, soaring, screaming, searing synth and choral vocal work, coupled with some hellish sprinkles of blackened death metal, a really strong, cathartic chorus, emboldened by more 80s synths. This whole thing just kind of sounds like an absolute monster come to life, but in weird synth industrial black death metal form. The following number, Maximize Terror, amps up the brutality and the intensity big time with a full-on assault of blackened death metal and wailing guitars. It almost kind of sounds like the aforementioned monster from Bathhouse is on a fucking rampage. You also have these sections with this really distorted, synthesized bass and guitar work alongside some very pounding, almost ritualistic primal percussion. Later on, the track does what feels like a full-on descent into madness with all of these different sound effects and some more thrashy dynamic riffage. It's fucking fantastic to say the least, and from here on, this record just gets spicier, weirder, more unpredictable, more unhinged. Your Pets Died on TV, for instance, has a lot of rough, jagged edges, a lot of like angular, unorthodox movements and patterns, with roaring vocals caked in static and distortion, some really genuinely like eerie and weird progressions, a ton of like creepy, eerie sound effects and string arrangements and synth arrangements and like weird electronics. This is definitely where the aforementioned Gore Guts meets Locust vibe is at its most potent and poignant. Then there's Liminal Blue, which takes us into colder, more dreary, more melancholic, more gloomy and mournful territory, combining synthwave, doom metal, alternative metal, classic goth rock, and goth metal undertones and vibes as well. Love the way this track closes out, too. It's very cinematic, very cathartic. Love Rick Giordano's vocals on here. Love those, like, twirling, like, synthesizers kind of dancing in and out of the forefront of the sound. Love those choral vocals and, like, the tremolo riffing and the more aggressive percussion. Then there's Rerouted, which combines dark, brutal, punishing industrial metal with psychedelic swarms and flurries and textures. The whole thing honestly kind of feels like the mutant freak child of like John Carpenter and Aranci Pazuzu. Then there's Crawler Night, which for a hot minute is just full-blown industrial black metal with elements pulled from like the classic mid-90s second wave black metal sound and scene. As it goes on, though, it has some, like, post-punky kind of sections that feels like something pulled from an Idols record. It continues to flirt with all of this weird, experimental, psychedelic, progressive metal madness, specifically in its second half. My favorite cut on the record, though, would have to be 12/31/89, because it just goes so unbelievably, stupidly fucking hard. Like, that main beat, which is just built on, like, 80s synth pop and industrial in the vein of, like, very early Nine Inch Nails, is irresistibly fucking awesome. And I love that it keeps that even as it brings in like the chunky, meaty metal riffage, even as it starts introducing more ominous synth work. The only reprieves you get from this beat come from like these overblown sections of like industrial sludge metal, almost in the vein of Author and Punisher, and one section that relies on like this genuinely like really terrifying audio recording sample kind of thing. It's like somebody crying. I think they're in the woods because you hear like crickets and stuff like that, and you hear these monstrous noises as well and yelps. It's freaky. And that then transitions into a towering, monumental wall of like industrial noise and doom before then going back to that beat and ending on such a great note. Yeah, strong 4.5 out of 5. I love this record. Love the production. Love how powerful everything is. Love that it can be like really bombastic without being annoying. Rick Giordano killing it on vocals. This is the strongest, the most confident he has ever sounded with The Lion's Daughter, in my opinion. They really let their freak flag fly with this one. Emphasis on freak, because holy shit. This definitely isn't going to be for everyone, but I'm still going to recommend it to everyone because it is such a unique and creative record. Like, this just does such a great job at blending so many different kinds of horror and so many different styles of like rock and metal and alternative and extreme music into something cohesive and crazy and unpredictable. I genuinely have no idea what The Lion's Daughter can do after this record, how they will continue to expand upon this, but I also didn't know how they were going to do it when they dropped Skin Show, and then they did it. And now here we are. So fuck it. Like I said, it's a good thing I don't write songs for Lion's Daughter, because I definitely would not have written none of this shit. Definitely. I'd have sat there just confused and fucking lost. They'd have to fire me, honest to God. 4.5 out of 5. Fucking incredible. Holy shit. Check this out. Just do it. It's not up for debate. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.